see your faces. If it's safe to do so. Makeup, no makeup, wine and glass in your hand. Whatever you got.
It's all good. Cool, cool. Okay. So for starters, I do want to just kick it. I want to remind everyone that tonight is the last night to join the Level Up Mastermind that Kelly and Tyler are putting on, along with Laura Stevens, Lindsay Hofber. The link is in Leaders Rise here. So definitely it's a 6-week program starting September 21st. If you can commit and want to commit, and now is your time, just fill out the link and you're in. So tonight's the last night. They're taking no entries after tonight. So just a reminder on that. And what I am extremely excited about tonight is to introduce the guest who is with us here, Zach Slobin. Zach Slobin is, we're extremely excited to have him on our call tonight. And, you know, I could name a few accolades about Zach. So, you know, I've watched, he's cracked his way into the top 20, him and Eden, of Isagenix, and they build a business globally in many, many countries around the world. And he may not know this, but at my very first ICU back in 2013, he and Eden were one of the little success stories. They had just locked themselves in a hotel room and run their way to director. So, you know, that urgent action, compressed action where they ran themselves to director. And, you know, I've watched their business. I've watched him grow over time. Many of you were in Nashville during his keynote speech last summer, which was, you know, one of the best, I would say, that we've had. And the year prior to that, he was Man of the Year for Isagenix. So big, you know, just an award that just is really about his heart and his service and everything that he does for the company as a whole. And then I do love to joke about Zach being the Gary Vee of network marketing. And I knew he was like, This was going to come up. And I think you'll see that tonight, because I think what Zach does so well is he's so extremely consistent on his core principles. Things like no hype, no masks, you know, serve the world, authentically own who you are, and authentically own what you want. And if you follow Gary Vee, you follow, you know, Zach, either way, I think you're going to see the thing. So, oh yeah, does he drop F-bombs? Maybe not as many, maybe a few. And then also, you know, during this pandemic, Jake and I have been plugging into his coffee chats along with some of you, you know, throughout the time. And so we've been able to really spend some solid time feeding our brains with his daily wisdom and grow ourselves in the process in that way. So welcome, Zach. We're pumped to have you here. Oh, hold on. You're muted. That's us.
Yep, you're good.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Property of Allison Matthews. Thank you for that. Good job. Good to see some familiar faces on here. Hi, everybody. Always, I'm always honored to be asked to serve the community at large and just kind of pay forward some of what I've learned along the way of a lot of mistakes and a lot of interesting experiences in my career, if you will. So I'm here just to kind of be of service to you all, and whatever you want that to look like. I'm just down to play a little bit for the next however long you guys want to keep me here, and we'll see how it goes. I also want to know if I can enroll in that 6-week mastermind with Kelly and Tyler and Laura and hang out with you guys doing that, because that sounds great. And I don't know anything about it, but if I were all of you, I would not hesitate in getting involved in that, because you have world-class leadership in Kelly and Tyler Dickerhoff, of course, and Laura as well. And, you know, to have a partner in Allison and Jake, who are taking a stand for you and enrolling you into that possibility of being able to work with people like that, is a huge gift. You know, it's one of the things that really sets network marketing apart, is a real desire to impact people, and knowing that the only way we get paid in this industry is by helping people get results. And, you know, I know that in Jake and Allison, you have two people who are really committed to their own growth and their own leadership. And the reason I know that is because, like Allison says, I think I started doing my coffee chats. She would probably know the exact number, but I think I've done 140 of them or something like that since all this started. And I think they've both combined or together been on all but maybe 2 or 3. And that says a lot about their desire to get better for their benefit, but more so for your benefit. So again, thank you both for continually showing up and your consistency. And also, they are note-taking ninjas. They are kind enough to take notes of all the madness that we talk about on a day-to-day basis. And send it over to me in the mornings or in the evening. And so anyway, I'm just super grateful for both of you and your friendship and your generosity and your kindness and your thoughtfulness. And I think you guys all know, and if you don't, I hope you realize and appreciate just what, salt of the earth people you guys have as partners, and that's not a term I throw around loosely because I've been around a long time and, I'll say nice things about people, but the salt of the earth title is one thing that that's the prestigious, thing to say about someone in my world. So that's what you got with these two. So anyway, let's let it rip. What do you got for me? What are we doing tonight?
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's let it rip. Okay, awesome. And you guys, those of you, if you have questions that come up, like we will have time for questions, but for sure our chat usually rolls pretty solidly too. So
yeah, something comes up, throw it in the chat.
Yep. Okay, so let's start here. Why network marketing now, and why is now the time to double down on your Isagenix business from your perspective?
I love this question. I love it. I've been talking about this a lot. I've been talking about this about every day since this whole thing happened. I don't know that I'll be dropping F-bombs. There's babies on the screen right now, Heidi. So I don't want to promise that I'm gonna drop F-bombs. I try not to. They only come out when necessary. Sometimes there's just no word that's better than, dropping that word, but I try and be as professional as possible. So with that being said, there's a couple of things at play that make network marketing so uniquely positioned right now as an industry. So first I'll speak to the industry and where we're at as an industry and what makes it so special to be a part of the industry. And then I'll speak to what makes us so uniquely positioned with Isagenix, if that's okay. And if it's not okay, then you can just hang up the phone and not listen to what I have to say, and that's totally fine too. So I'm not attached. But here's why. So I want to give you a little history lesson, if that's okay. There are a couple of industries, historically speaking, that grow in a down economy. Two of those industries, the first industry is education. Now type in the chat box, why would education be something that goes up in a down economy, just from your opinion? Why would it go up? And I want this to be as interactive as possible, of course, right? Because that's what makes this fun. I don't want to lecture or preach at you. So what would you say are some of the primary reasons that education goes up? People need to add skills, knowledge, yep. More time to learn something new, further education, right? Exactly. So what happens as the economy starts to shrink and employment becomes more and more limited, right? And the unemployment rate rises. What people recognize, exactly, you guys are putting in great, these are great identifications right now that you're putting in. What people recognize is, okay, there's going to be limited job supply. So in order for me to make myself more appealing as a candidate for those limited jobs, I'm going to put myself back in school so that I can essentially put my resume on the top stack. Now, one of the inherent challenges with that, and I'm all for education, this isn't to say anything bad about education. One of the inherent challenges is, historically speaking, a recession is not going to last, the 3 to 4 years that some sort of master's level program is going to require. So now here you are coming back on the upside swing, ideally, of a growing economy with a degree that arguably might be outdated. Now, what we've seen though is in this particular market, education's not booming as readily as it normally would. Why? Because obviously in-person attendance has been significantly impacted as well. But the other thing that goes up through the roof is direct sales and network marketing. Through the roof. And the reason why network marketing goes through the roof is because it's fairly simple. There are very, very few places outside of network marketing where you can start a business for pennies on the dollar and be profitable within 24 hours of being started, right? There are very few places where someone can say, look, I got $300 to $500 I can invest, and they can turn that $300 to $500 into, an extra $2,000, allowing them to pay their rent or their mortgage, or making sure that their car payment doesn't get behind because they just got laid off from a job or something along those lines. The other thing about network marketing, of course, that allows is for people that are accustomed to being more autonomous when their jobs get affected or their careers get affected. In this economy, for example, you have personal trainers, hairstylists, massage therapists, the self-employed genre, if you will, when they're looking around going, okay, how do I maintain my autonomy because I don't want to go work for somebody else? What are my options? Network marketing provides a unique option in that regard. And then for people who are accustomed to being employed, who essentially find themselves in a position where, wait a minute, I've been loyal to this company for maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And all of a sudden you're telling me that I don't have a job anymore, right? There's one part of them is saying, I need to make money. But there's another part of them that's basically saying, I never want to have to depend on that type of security ever again. So how can I position myself to own my own business? And then when you start to look around at what are the best options for starting a business with very limited, entrepreneurial skills, you kind of look to two main industries. One would be the franchise industry, which has a propensity to be cost prohibitive, right? Because at the very, very least, you're looking at $25,000 buy-in for the bottom rung of franchises all the way up into the millions. Then they look at network marketing and say, okay, again, for a couple $100, I can learn how to control my financial future. Now, so you consider all of those factors, and now let's fast forward, and now let's go to 2008, 2009. So 2008, 2009, Great Recession hits, right? All of these people start to look for new options. One industry flies above the rest. What is that? Network marketing. And if you look at what happened inside of Isagenix, the Isagenix growth curve was absolutely massive, and it really picked up after 2011. So 2011, Isagenix did something like 220 million in sales. 2013, we did 330, then 448, then we bumped to 725, then we went to 800 million, then we went to 925. So almost $1 billion in sales. And it all started because all of these people who had previously said no to network marketing came in droves, right? People like the Dickerhoofs, people like Laura Stevens came on the coattails of that beginning little wave, if you will. And then as the economy got better and got stronger, network marketing kind of shifted into more of a consumer acquisition, product-based enterprise, right? Where a lot of it was focused on, let's just go out and get a bunch of consumers. Because when the economy is good, people aren't necessarily looking for additional streams of income. Now what are we seeing again? Well, we're seeing that exact same thing repeat because, quite frankly, this economic, you can call it a mid-cycle slowdown, you can call it a recession. This was all predicted. It was all coming no matter what, having nothing to do with the global health challenge, right? This economic slowdown was coming. And for those of you that follow the economy or pay attention to that, how many of you are aware that this was already coming, right? That we were already on its way. So, some people said the bubble was coming a couple of years ago in real estate, right? It's always predictable. It's always predictable. In fact, I was just talking to one of my closest friends. He's one of my still a mentor to me, but from back in the day, a very successful real estate investor. And he said, look, we're basically today, right now, exactly where we were right around 9/11, right? What does that mean? The government is printing money. People are looking for jobs. Unemployment is through the roof, right? So what does that mean for savvy individuals? That really means a massive opportunity. Why does it mean a massive opportunity? Because the masses are looking for some way, shape, or form to feel some sense of certainty and safety in what is obviously a very chaotic environment. Now, what none of us could have predicted, and obviously we're not going to get into political beliefs or ideologies here because that doesn't matter. What nobody could have predicted necessarily was all of a sudden here comes this global pandemic that then throws gas on the fire that was already starting to brew. Enter Isagenix, okay? So for the first time in my life, at least that I've ever seen, you have a global community who's saying things like, maybe I should start to be more proactive about my health. Maybe I should start to pay better attention to what kind of nutrition I put in my body. Maybe I should really, really start to take notice of my overall well-being. And why are they doing that? Well, because believe it or not, the media, and this is not, I don't want to have a conversation about your beliefs in the media. Okay, we don't get into all that. That doesn't matter. But the point is, don't roll your eyes at me, Kenzie. I saw that, right? But the point is, I'm just messing with you. But the point is, the media is actually doing our bidding for us. And why? And what do I mean by that? The media is saying, look, here are all the reasons that all of these people have been suffering from a health perspective. Here are some of the underlying causes. Here's where the increase in rates are, right? All of you guys are seeing that, right? Again, regardless of your beliefs around what, why, who, and when, we just know that there's some data that's being put out there that says, hey, underlying health is something that you've got to pay better attention to. And what's unique about this situation is it's not where you look at it and say, well, yeah, but Zach, isn't obesity an epidemic or whatever it may be? Of course, obesity is an epidemic, but obesity is something that for the most part, people choose into. Whereas this is something entirely different where people look at it and go, I'm a relatively healthy person and maybe I'm susceptible. Type in the chat box. Is this landing so far? Are you guys connecting with me so far from a consumer perspective? Okay. So now all of a sudden what you have is you have what already is a burgeoning $4.25 trillion wellness industry, massive industry, that's going to exponentially grow because it's going to start to consist of people who aren't health nuts. And that's unique. So when an industry goes from its nucleus to the fringe, that's where an industry can really start to go into critical mass, right? One of the things I'll tell you about investing in stocks, for example, is as soon as the taxi driver is talking about it, it's too late. But in wellness, the fact that the taxi driver is talking about it should be really, really, really exciting for all of us, okay? Why? Because all of a sudden, this unaware consumer who's recognizing I need to pay more attention to my health, what do? They go online, and what happens? They get inundated with all of this information, because Jennifer's yawning, she's bored. They get inundated with all this information, right? And it's overwhelming. How many of you would agree that the wellness space can be wildly overwhelming, right? And a confused mind takes zero action. So what are people looking for? People are looking on the news, they're reading blog articles, they're reading all these different things saying, okay, here's what you need, right? You need to have adaptogenic herbs. You want to do intermittent fasting so you can create autophagy in your cells. If you're going to drink protein, you need to have grass-fed protein, right? If you're going to drink bone broth, it's got to be grass-fed, grass-finished, right? So it's all these things. Here's what you need to do. You need antioxidant-rich foods. But the everyday person who's never shopped the outside of the grocery store has zero idea where it starts. And the definition of an entrepreneur, in my opinion, is someone who can get paid to solve people's problems. So from a consumer demand perspective, just consider for a moment the ability to simplify the overwhelm of the desire for somebody to take care of their wellness, but not knowing where to start. And we have the ability to put it in a box and deliver it onto their doorsteps so that they don't even need to go to the grocery store if that's something they don't want to do. Just go like this if you guys are picking up what I'm putting down right now in terms of customer acquisition, what consumers are looking for, okay? So that's part number one when it comes to Isogenics. Now, part number two when it comes to Isogenics is the reality that people are also looking for the ability to work remotely, because working from home is no longer a luxury, it's a necessity. And the other thing that's going to happen, in my opinion, and I'm not Nostradamus or anything like that, right? But in my opinion, just watching the trends and just paying attention to what's happening, the reality is I think we're going to see unemployment go up even further. Because I think what you're going to see, and this again, just my opinion, you have major corporations, right, that had to put their whole entire workforce back home. And what they recognized was, wait a minute, we can still do business. But because we can do business virtually, what else does that mean? We don't need as many people. We can rely on more AI. We can rely on more virtual technology. So that means we can eliminate jobs. So a perfect example of that was just last week. How many of you are familiar with the company Salesforce, right? So Salesforce is a major software as a service company. It's the world leader in CRMs. It's a huge, huge company out of Silicon Valley. They just recorded one of their highest records on the stock market. And the very next day after reporting this, they laid off 1,000 people. They let off 1,000 people. So earlier I talked about how a swell of people starts to look at network marketing, right? Well, 2008, 2009, 2010, a lot of that was made up of military wives, laborers, blue collar workers, things of that nature, right? That's kind of what got attracted to network marketing. What's unique about this recession so far is the rate at which white collar employees, if you will, are being eliminated from their jobs. The speed at which white collar professionals are being eliminated from their jobs is startling. So now what you have the ability to do is to serve an even larger population of people, sophisticated business people who have business acumen, who are looking for a sound business model that makes sense. And again, having an education as well, right? You can go across the board. It's just industry-wide. It's crazy. So you take all of those factors and then you compound it with what was already happening, which was the McKinsey study just recently came out and said 800 million jobs are being predicted to be replaced by AI over the next 10 years. 800 million. Then you look at the death of retail, right? How many of you going through your towns, you see stores that are closing, right? All of those stores were already closing. Then you look at coronavirus and unfortunately what that's created. So I was just reading an article the other day where a world-renowned economist said here in the United States, and he was being very conservative, said that 1 out of 7 small business owners will not recover from this. Means they will not open their doors. So again, when you look at all of the ingredients, right, and you look at the stark reality that the greatest transferences of wealth happen in a down economy when a person recognizes how to solve a major problem within that crisis, that's where wealth starts to get created. And so what I want all of you to understand is because you're positioned with a company that's meeting consumer demand at the highest level, whose operations haven't ceased at all, that's already built to scale across 26 now international markets with leveraged distribution systems, and we're experts in teaching people how to work remotely so they can plug in and play right away. Pretty remarkable. You know, one of the things that Allison mentioned is that Eden and I have been blessed to crack into the top 20 of this company, and that's a huge blessing. But what it's meant from an income perspective, and again, we've been very blessed. We work very hard. I want to make that very clear. We're very consistent in our behaviors, but we're evaluating our income. And so far this year, I think we're up something like 50 to 60%. Now, what a blessing as we see all these things happening around the world, right? So, but my mom and I were talking because she was visiting us a couple weeks ago, and I've been saying this on every training I've been doing. I've been saying this exact same conversation. So if you've heard me say it before, then, you know, I apologize for the redundancy, but she goes, Zachy, because that's what she calls me. Says Zachy, unless she's mad at me, which she goes, Zachary. But anyways, we're in a good mood together. And she said, Zachy. And I said, yeah, Mom. She goes, you guys are killing it right now, aren't you? And I go, yeah. She goes, how much are you up? And I was like, I think we're up like 50 to 60%. And she like jaw hits the floor, proud mom moment, blah, blah, blah. I guess this whole network marketing thing does work, you know, years and years of her criticizing me all come right back to center, right? So anyway, she goes, what do you think it's about? And here was the way I described it without getting into the whole economy conversation, whatever, like I just did with you. But here's the way I describe it. If you had a crystal ball in 2019, right, or you went to a psychic who had a crystal ball in 2019, and they said, everything that was going to happen in 2020 that's happened was going to come true, right? They said, here's everything that was coming. And they said, you have 6 months to design the perfect business for the year 2020 based on everything that's about to transpire. You could not write up a more intelligent business for this time in history than this company. So that's a very long answer to your very short question, but it's bananas what you're sitting on top of right now. It's bananas. So you said double down. I would say quadruple down if you can.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And, you know, something you said when you said, you know, people are starting to sit down and say, maybe I should start taking care of my body and my health, like preemptively. You know, oftentimes, you know, people talk about not having a problem getting people started on the products. You know, I can get people started on the products, but I can't seem to find those builders. I can't seem to get, you know, the business builder to come with me, you know, thinking about the business. So when you're seeing this in the field or someone comes to you with that, like what are some actionable steps or what are some ways that they can try to change that story or flip that script that's in their head?
Yeah, we don't tolerate that. So we just send them out into the darkness and we trade them to another company. Yeah, so we don't do that. So here's the thing, and this is a very common question, right? It's a very common question. How many of you love that question? I mean, like, how do I get more business builders, right? How do I get more people to build the business, right? Okay, only one of you. Great. Okay. So interactive. There's a lot of Midwesterners on here. Is that what's going on? A lot of Minnesotans. Is that what's going on here, right? It's a little bit more conservative. That's fine. I'll crack out of your
South Dakota. We got South Dakota, Arkansas, Minnesota. Yeah.
Arizona.
Mary's throwing up the W. Is that for Washington? No. Oh, she said thumbs down.
Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. Oh, got it. All right. I don't want to start any like football wars here or anything like that. All right. We won't do that. Colorado in the house. Okay. So basically all of the Midwest. Hi, Susan. Good. One normal person here from California. Great. Okay. So Arizona, the Florida of the West. Okay. So So here's a couple of things to consider. First and foremost, you get what you market. You get what you market. So if you're constantly marketing transformation photos, you're constantly marketing weight loss transformations, you're constantly marketing your beautiful smoothie bowls and things like that, right? Which is great. Nothing wrong with it. Understand that that's what you're branding, and that's what people are coming to you with the expectation of. So that's the first part of it. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with it, but in a down economy, if I'm looking for ways to make money and all you're ever talking about is an 11-day shred or cleansing your body or whatever it may be, and my other friend in my network is talking about an online business system where they've been able to generate an income from home, when it comes to me making the decision to learn how to make more money, am I going to go to the person who's, talking about cleansing, or the person who's talking about making money online? It's a pretty simple question, right? You get what you market. It's no different than if you were driving down the highway and there was a billboard for a personal injury attorney in case you got in car accidents, and then there was a billboard over here for the zoo. If you got in a car accident, you're not going to call the number on the zoo billboard, are you? Of course not. Why? Because they're not marketing to you about how to help you in a car accident. You're going to call the people that are marketing and advertising personal injury attorneys, right? So you get what you market. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't convert people that come in wanting to use the products into potential partners who are actively interested in distributing the products. And I can give you a little technique on that if you would like. But also you've got to be willing to, and I'll come back to that, you've got to be willing to have the conversation. You've got to be willing to actively ask people to take a look at what Isagenix has to offer. You just have to. No prospecting, no profiting. Very simple. No prospecting, no profiting. And hope and posting and praying is not a strategy. And for as wonderful of a tool as social media is, if you're overly dependent on just posting on Facebook and hoping that people come to you, the reality is you have to consider how many people you're competing against that are doing the exact same thing. So how are you going to differentiate yourself? And I'll tell you right now, the money is in messengers. The money's in messengers. The money is getting in people's inboxes, communicating with them, connecting with them, identifying where they're at in their lives, and seeing if they're open to taking a look at Isagenix. The other thing you got to ask yourself the question of is, or not even ask yourself the question, but the reality is you attract who you are. So if you're saying, I want to attract more business people, you got to be willing to look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I showing up like a business person? How intentional am I being with my time? How postured am I in my conversations? What distractions am I allowing into my life? Is it clear as day to everybody in my circle of influence that they know that I'm not messing around when it comes to this thing? Am I speaking into life with conviction and certainty that says, here's where I'm going, the train is leaving the station? Are you showing up and opening the store every single day? One of the things that blew my mind, I don't know if you guys had this in Minnesota years ago, when yoga started to get real popular here in the United States, there were all these yoga studios that were like donation-based studios. You guys remember those? Any of you guys go to a donation-based studio? And I remember going to a donation-based studio and I asked the person that owned it, I was like, so how does this work? They go, yeah, dude, you just kind of pay us like based on whatever value you feel we provided. And we just trust that Spirit's going to take care of us and we'll be okay. And in my mind, I was like, okay, so 6 months from now, you will not be in business. You won't be in business because you're not acting like a business owner. And sure enough, all those donation yoga owners, guess what they found out really quickly? That people weren't very charitable when it came to yoga, right? So what did they start doing? They started charging, and now they have real businesses that run throughout the United States. So you got to act like a business person if you want to attract business people. Because what a business person, and remember what I said earlier, white collar professionals are looking at this industry. Now, you don't need to have been a white collar professional in your past to show up like a professional in your present. Okay, and I want you to really get what I just said. You don't have to have been a white collar professional to transition your skills and act like a professional today. A great example of that is my really good friend, C.G. Siddons. C.G. Siddons, if you don't know who she is, she's an Isagenix millionaire. She was a Jersey Shore bartender, as crass and as ludicrous as they could possibly get. She actually wrote a blog about how much she hated people, okay? Not professional, no joke. No joke. And if you talk with CG now, right, not only has she become a sophisticated network marketer, but she's also a very successful real estate investor because she made the decision to start showing up like a professional. And when she started to show up like a professional, people started to take her more seriously. Okay, so that's a really big part of this is how are you choosing to show up? For those of you that were in Nashville last year when I had the profound honor of doing that closing keynote, one of the things you heard me say, or maybe you didn't hear me say this, was that who you are being is way more important than what you're doing. Who you're being is more important than what you're doing. Energy is absolutely everything. And I can tell within 90 seconds of speaking with somebody whether or not you're serious about what you're doing. You know, it's like I look at people on our team, right? They're like, I want to do it. I'm all in, blah, 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 blah. And I'm on Instagram stories and they're just sitting there like day drinking. Okay, cool. Like if you want to, like, it's all good. It's fine. I really, no judgment. Like for real, I lived plenty of that life, but day drinking and creating a significant income for you and your family, those two things don't live on the same street, right? So there's a sense of personal ownership and responsibility because your network is watching you. Even the people that have said no to you are watching you to see how serious you are about this. And, you know, a lot of people ask me, they say, Zach, what's your definition of leadership? And to me, leadership is what you're doing when no one's watching. How are you showing up behind closed doors? What's your attitude like? What's your personal philosophy about this business? How committed are you to just handling the what is of business and keeping and continuing to move forward regardless of what's happening? Are you going to continue to show up and open your store every single day, no matter what? Because that's what people are looking for. You have to understand that in a time of great uncertainty, the number one thing that people are looking for is certainty. So you've got to show up with conviction and certainty so that I know that if I'm willing to invest my last $500 with you, I got to know that I can count on you. How many of you get that? How many of you would agree with that, right? If you're down to the felt, as we used to say, for those who don't know, I used to play poker full time. There's a saying in poker that, you know, when you're down to the felt, it means you got nothing left. Like, that's it. I got one chip, a chip and a chair. I'm down to the felt. When you're down to the felt, like you want to know, bless you, Heidi, you want to know that the person that you're getting in the game with, that they're going to have your back. And that's when you got to ask yourself the question, am I all in? Am I being really consistent? So when Allison says, or Jake says, doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down, like you got to, this is a time where you get to be really obsessed, right? Not in a psychotic way, not in a, this is all you live, eat, breathe, and sleep kind of way, but mostly. And you got to be non-negotiable, and you got to be ruthless with your time. And you got to be ruthless with who you allow to steal your time or who you at least give your time away to freely. Because that's got to be the attitude. And here's what I don't know. I don't know whatever situation you're personally finding yourself in today's economy based on everything that's transpired. I don't know if you lost your job or if you've been furloughed or if you have no job to be going back to. I don't know what that looks like. But what I do know is this. When the 2008 recession hit, 2009 recession hit, I was not ready. I was not ready. And you know where I ended up? On my mom's couch, suicidal. That's where I ended up. I wasn't ready. I didn't dig my well before the water ran dry. So wherever you are in your life today, make a decision. If you're struggling right now, if you're a little bit ambiguous right now about money and about your job and about your career and about your family's financial future, make the decision right now that never again will you allow yourself to feel the discomfort that you're feeling right now. And I know that discomfort. I promise you I know that discomfort. I know that discomfort intimately. I know what it feels like to scrape for change, to have enough money to buy cigarettes because cigarettes were cheaper than food and it would at least suppress my appetite for a couple hours so I don't have to worry about spending money on food. So I know that feeling. I know the feeling of walking up to the ATM, hitting the button and going, I hope there's something in there. And then it says overdraft protection. I know I'm going to have to pay an extra $45 just to get $60. I know that feeling intimately. But I made the decision in 2008, 2009 of never again. Because here's what I can promise you. Depending on who you ask, anywhere from 4 to 10 years from now, guess what's going to happen in the economy? Guess what? Same thing. How do you want to be positioned when that happens? So when people tell you no, fine, next. When people make fun of you, criticize you, judge you, fine, next. Because if you buy their limitations and you buy and you buy that from them, then you buy their lifestyle. If you own your limitation, you can either own your limitations or you can own your life. It's totally up to you. But the thing about network marketing that's so special, everybody, I really want you to get this, is it's a level playing field. My wife didn't graduate high school. She makes more in a month than most PhDs will make in a year. She had no sales skills, no marketing skills. She's an intelligent woman, extremely smart woman, very hard worker. Was terrified when this all started, but she was hungry and she was ready to do something different. Anyone can learn how to do this business. Most people won't put in the time and the consistency and the effort to do it. That's why when people say like, oh, only a small percentage of people, blah, blah, blah. Of course, in anything. Why? Because the vast majority of people aren't willing to keep running even when it feels like their legs have fallen off. And that's who finishes marathons. The people that keep running even when they've lost feeling in their legs. That's the reality. The teams that win close games, for those of you guys, I'm a big sports fan, right? The team that wins the game at the very end of the game, what do they always say? It always comes down to the team that usually does what? It's the team that makes a mistake. The team that makes a mistake loses. And why do they make a mistake? Mental exhaustion. And championship teams, you know what they do? They find a way to win. And with all due respect, I hate to say this, but historically speaking, the Vikings, mentally weak. They just are. Come on, you got to admit it. It's just don't shake your head, Kenzie. It's a true story. But that's just the reality of it. The reality is that there is I'm not going to go that far, Mary. Calm down, okay? I'm not going to go that far, okay? Just because I'm talking crap about the Vikings doesn't mean I'm empowering and supporting the Packers. Let's just be very clear about that, okay? But you're right. You are right, Mary. So does that make sense, what I'm saying right now, right? Like that's what separates the champions from the people that are second place on the podium in sports and in life, is the willingness to find a way when it feels like there's no other way to be found. That's the difference. It's not the most talented, I promise you. It's not. And it's not the hardest workers. It's not. It's the people who are willing to find a way when it feels like and seems like there's no other way to be found. That's what I am. I'm not the smartest. I promise you that. And I'm not the hardest worker. I'm not. I'm actually relatively lazy. My favorite activity is doing nothing. Not a joke. Really good at it. Really good at it. Really good at nothing. Great at it, in fact. Expert in doing nothing. I'm not the hardest worker. I'm not the smartest. I'm not even the most skilled. But I was always willing to just keep finding a way to keep moving forward because what I was very committed to, my ex-fiance and I, right before we called everything off, she was just really like in on me. And she was like, you need to get a real job. You're living in fantasy land. My parents were right about you. Right. And I was like, I just let it rip. And it was like the first time I'd ever raised my voice, I think, at her and anybody else. And I'll never forget, I was at the top of the staircase. She was at the bottom of the staircase. And I said something so clear as day. And I said this, and I said, I would rather die than live the life that you or anyone else thinks I should live. And that's always been my obsession. I just wanted freedom. I just wanted to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want, with whoever I want. And so that's why I just kept going, no matter what. And right now is the season, these next 18 to 24 months, no matter where you're at in your business, no matter how much adversity you've overcome, no matter if you're just getting started or if you feel like you're at a standstill because you've been in for 3 or 4 years, just make the decision that right now, just make the decision. And when you make a decision, it's a decision. It's clear as day. There is no going back. The definition of the word decision, decide, cut off from, dead, side, C-I-D-E, right? Like pesticide, same thing. Cut off from. There is no negotiating. And that might mean you creating some exchanges. It might mean all of your friends saying, hey, we're all going to go, we're going out on the houseboat on the lake for Labor Day weekend, and like, we're going to go, we're just going to like go get chocolate wasted and do the whole deal and blah, 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 right? Like, and if you don't know that reference, you should go watch that movie. But anyway, you don't even know what that movie is, right? Okay. Anyway, doesn't matter. So the point is, you got to ask yourself the question, what do I value more? What would the future me choose? Right? I'm not saying don't live your life. I'm not saying don't have fun. Please do. Please have fun. Please let this be fun and do it in a sustainable way. But you got to evaluate your choices. Because here's what I know. I know that when I was in my early 20s, right? And my mentors would challenge me, like, Zach, what'd you do this weekend? I worked a little bit. Did you? Yeah, I went out with a couple friends. Did you drink? Yeah, a little bit, you know. When'd you start drinking, Zach? Thursday night. When'd you stop drinking, Zach? Sunday afternoon. What else you do, Zach? You know, did you do drugs, Zach? Yeah, I did. Okay. Okay. Zach, you're not an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. You don't want what you say you want. You don't. You don't want what you say what you want. You don't want it. I'm like, no, I do want it. I really want it. Zach, ask me what I was doing on Thursday night. What were you doing on Thursday night? I was home reading. Zach, ask me what I was doing on Friday. What were you doing on Friday? I was making phone calls. Ask me what I did on Saturday. What did you do on Saturday? I was making follow-up phone calls from the calls I was making on Friday. Ask me what I did on Sunday. What did you do on Sunday? We had brunch, and then you know what I did? No, what? I planned my week. Same span of time. Two entirely different set of life choices. My life choices ended me on my mom's couch suicidal. Their life choices had them both financially free and earning a couple million by the time they were 33 and 34 years young. Same time period, two different sets of choices. What makes us unique as human beings, and that's a very long answer to whatever question we started with, but I'm just riffing. Is that okay?
Great.
Freestyle. Keep rolling.
So what makes us unique as human beings is that we have the power of choice. And sometimes we forget that. You know, if you were a lion, you were born a lion, specifically a female lion, right? And you were born a lion in Africa, you know, a gazelle walks by, you don't have the option to be like, yeah, I think I'm going to try a vegan diet this month, right? Like you don't have that option. Lions don't have that option. Lions don't have that choice. They don't. Lions don't have the choice to go vegan, but you do. The same way you have the choice to get up and put in a little bit of extra time, the time that most people aren't willing to put in. You know, everyone talks about the 99% versus the 1%. What really separates the 1%? The willingness to do that bit extra. It's just that extra effort. It's that, yeah, I'm exhausted and every part of me wants to turn on Netflix and melt into the couch. But what do I value more? What do I value more? And right now, your only intention might be to get yourself to a place where you're making $1,000 a month in this business, which can be radically life-changing for you. But in order for you to become the person that makes even an extra $500 to $100 a month compared to what you're accustomed to, you got to change your habits. You got to change your disciplines, right? You got to ask yourself the question, old me isn't going to get new results. Convicted me is going to make the decision to say, right, you know what? Instead of Netflix, I'm going to pick up a book, even if my eyes feel like they're bleeding. Because I'm tired of mediocrity and I'm tired of suffering. And I'm tired of having to tell my kids no if you have kids. And more importantly, I'm tired of having to tell myself no. How many of you are constantly putting yourselves behind everybody else because financially there's not enough room for you to take care of yourselves? Ladies, how many of you wish that you could get a massage or a facial, 2 or 3 times a month, but there's just no way you could do it because of all the kids' activities and this, that, and the other, right? Fellas, how many of you just wish that you could go on an extra fishing trip every couple times a year just because you want to be able to get away and just be with the boys and hang out, but you look at your bank account and you're like, I can't do it. Or if you did do it, you get totally over leveraged, you put it on a credit card, and now you feel guilty about when you're out on the boat. You got to get tired of that. I got tired of playing Bill Roulette. Any of you play Bill Roulette? Here's Bill Roulette. This is what it looked like. Here's how broke I was. My bills would come, I would take them, I would put them in a special drawer. Then every 3 to 4 weeks, I'd close my eyes, I'd reach my hand in the drawer, I'd pick out any bill, I'd open it up, and more often than not, I couldn't afford it, and I'd put it back in. And so what came with that? Phone gets shut off. Electricity gets shut off. Water gets shut off. And then what comes with that? Hey, Mom, I'm really sorry, but this is the last time. That's real. I got tired of it. How many of you are tired? How many of you are tired? It's exhausting. But here's what I'll tell you. It's more painful to stay in that state of exhaustion. It's more painful to quit than it is to keep going. It's more painful. It's harder. It's harder to start climbing back down the mountain, even once you started making a little bit of a climb, than it is to keep going. It's harder. What are some other questions you got for me tonight? Wow, I'm sorry.
So no, that's
How many people are there? There are people that never heard me speak before. They're like, "Who is this whack job? This guy, what?"
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. So Jesse says, don't just say the women for massages. He would like a massage as well.
Oh, bro, I get a massage once a week. No joke. I'm self-care junkie.
Barbie put his daily coffee chat in, so maybe we'll be upping the numbers. I don't know, tomorrow. And then yeah. So let's go with. So a lot of times, I actually really enjoyed talking to you about this one time. So we hear people say, I'm not selling, I'm sharing. Or, you know, just the whole mindset around like sales. Can you talk a little bit about, because I've also heard you say, you know, selling is like one of the most noble professions when done correctly. So can you talk about that and how really owning the mindset around selling and a sale and what it is really helped to build a long-term business in Isogenics?
Okay. So look, just so you guys understand this whole thing around like why, basically a long time ago, some very intelligent network marketing people were like, hey, people don't like the idea of selling. So let's just change the word and call it sharing, and then they'll feel good about it. That's where it came from. But if I say to you, here's this pen, and you say to me, I'll give you $3 for that pen, and I say, great, and I give you the pen, and you give me $3. I did not share the pen with you. I sold you the pen. Let's make no mistake about it. It's sales. How many of you are in a relationship with a partner right now? Go like this. Okay. How many are in a relationship? Great. You're in sales. Okay. How many of you have children? Go like this. Congratulations. You're being sold. We're always in sales all the time. Everything is negotiation. It's constant. It's constant. The reality is, even when you tell yourself, I'm not any good at sales, guess what you're doing? You're selling yourself on not being good at sales. Anyhow, sales is the highest paid profession in the world. Sales is the highest paid profession in the world. And I think where we get uncomfortable is we have in our minds the guy in the bad plaid jacket with the goldfish tie and his pants barely fit, right? And he's like just this like obnoxious salesman, right? And that's what we think about, this terrible kind of archetype of a salesman. And that's the furthest thing from the truth when it comes to professional selling. When you really understand the fundamental value of what sales is really just an elegant conversation where, when done properly, you have the ability to move someone into an action that they desire to take, but they're limited in their belief around their ability to take it, so they don't take it. And when they don't take it, what happens? They continue to get the same results over and over and over again. I will gladly sell you something all day long if it means you unlocking unconscious beliefs that have kept you stuck, and that'll help you, get the body you've never had before, and therefore have the confidence that you've never had before. I will gladly sell you on the possibilities of network marketing so that for the first time in your life, you don't have to live paycheck to paycheck. But if I don't sell you on that possibility, and if you're not willing to sell people on that possibility, then make no mistake, you're not actually being in service to them. Selling is service. Selling is service. Everything you have in your life right now that you love, that you enjoy, you were sold those things, right? Ladies, those jeans you love, those shoes you love, guess what? Those were sold to you. No, they're not, Zach. I walked into the store. I even told the salesperson I didn't want help doing it. BS. The jean company has been selling to you for years. For years. That, Jamie, I see you wearing the watch on the, what is that called? The iPhone watch? I'm not that technological. What's it called? iWatch? I'm such a dork. I don't even know what it's called. Okay? Whatever that thing is that you're wearing. Apple sells that to you. Apple Watch. God, they should come up with a more simple name. Good Lord, it's so complex, right? It's all sales. Everything is sales. How many of you watch Shark Tank? Number one question always, what are your sales? What I really want you to wrap your head around is the premise of what I said before, is that when you're willing to be a stand for somebody, then that means asking powerful questions and providing a solution based on the answers you receive. And that's all that selling is. If you're a teacher, you're selling. If you're a teacher, you're selling. If you're in any name one position, I promise you I'll show you how you're selling. Guaranteed. But we get a little bit weird because we have this image of what we think a salesperson is all about. But selling will free you. Selling will free you. Because if you can sell, you can make money in any given environment, no matter what's happening. And when you learn holistic selling and you truly care about people and you're really committed to digging deep with them and identifying what their real pain point is, that's a really beautiful thing to be a part of. You know, a lot of you get on the phone with people or get on a Zoom with people and, you know, maybe you get on the phone with one of your girlfriends who reaches out about a transformation photo and it's like, hey, Susie, what do you want to, you know, what are your goals? What? And Susie's like, oh, I'd love to lose 10 pounds. You're like, yeah, girl, we'll kill it together. Let's do it. Yay, basic cut value pack and wee. And then what happens? She either says, no, it's too expensive, or she does it and then she quits after 30 days. Why? Because you didn't find out what she really wanted. See, if I'm talking on the phone with Susie, I might ask Susie a question like, Susie, what are your goals? And Susie might say, I'd love to lose 10 pounds. I say, Susie, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the totally committed, how committed are you? I'm definitely a 10. That's pretty high. That's pretty extreme. Susie, why are you a 10? You know, why is it so important to you? Well, you know, I really want to, you know, I want to kind of feel good for the summer. Why is it important to feel good for the summer? Well, I kind of want to look good in a bikini. Why is it important to look good in a bikini? Well, I kind of feel like I've lost a little bit of my confidence. I kind of actually want to feel sexy. Why is it important to you to feel sexy? Well, if I'm being honest, my husband doesn't really look at me the way that he used to, or my partner doesn't look at me the way that she used to. Well, why is it important to you that he or she does? Well, because I'm scared that they're going to leave me. Do you see how we just went from Susie wanting to lose 10 pounds to Susie not wanting to lose her marriage? Do you think Susie's going to have a more vested interest in staying on the products and using them accordingly now that she understands what her real deep desire is to want to do this? Does that make sense? That's what sales is. Zach, I really want to learn how to make money from home. Why is it important to you? Oh, dude, I gotta pivot. I gotta do something. I gotta pay my rent. Why is it important to you that you're able to pay your rent on time? Well, because I don't want to. You'd rather see me in a bikini than that hat? What are you a Giants fan? You're a Diamondbacks fan? That's not even a real team. Like, what a joke. Who cares? I don't even take that seriously. Whatever. God, Diamondbacks. Oh man. Anyway, same thing with the opportunity. Why? When you're willing to stand with somebody and stand for somebody and hold them to that greatness and hold them that possibility, they're going to keep moving forward, right? So when you talk about the opportunity and somebody says, look, I really want to do this. I really want to make an extra $500, $1,000 a month. Why is it important you make an extra $500 to $1,000 a month? Because I'm really tired of the credit card debt that we have. Why is it important you get out of credit card debt? Because I'm just tired of being limited financially. Why is it important you not to be limited financially? Because I watched my parents be limited financially my entire life. Why is it important you not to be like your parents in that way? Because I want my kids to have everything I've never had before. Do you see how we went from paying the rent or paying the mortgage to feeling like a good father or a good mother? Do you see the difference there? That's sales. Why is that important? So now, if that was Jennifer's goal or Jamie, I'm not even gonna use Jamie as an example anymore. Can't use that, right? If that was the intention, now when it comes to a live event or a virtual event or getting on team calls or whatever it is, or Chelsea's like, yeah, sorry, or Susie's like, sorry, man, I can't be on the call, I can't go to the event because here comes Allison's gonna be your favorite one. It's my aunt's sister's. Her little girl just got a Chihuahua and they're having a birthday party for the Chihuahua and it's really important that I be there. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. But let me ask you a question. When you said that you wanted to be able to provide for your children what your parents were never able to provide for you, were you serious about that or were you just joking around? I was serious about that. Okay. What's going to get you closer? What's going to get you closer? Selfies with the Chihuahua for the gram? Or participating in this team call with us, or going to the event? Going to the event. Great. So looks like I'll see you there. That's what selling is. That's what it is. Again, it's being willing to identify people's pain points, ask a series of questions to uncover what their true desires are, what their true limiting beliefs are, what their true blockages are, and then helping show them a gateway and a pathway to go from the pain that they're suffering into the potentiality of what's waiting for them should they decide to move forward. That's what selling is. How many of you feel a little bit different about sales now?
Yeah, no, that's powerful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what else want to talk about?
Chihuahua gets me every time.
What's that?
The Chihuahua for the gram gets me every time.
It's a hard one, you know? I mean, the Chihuahua birthday parties are really, really, they're enticing. I get it. You know, who doesn't want to go to the Chihuahua party for the gram? But, you know, we got to make choices here, folks.
Totally. So I know we're definitely that hour. Oh my gosh, that hour just absolutely flew. I know it was. I don't know if, do you have any final thoughts, any final words you would want to share, or I guess we could just wrap it up with.
Were there any last questions? Maybe I could knock one out in the last 2 minutes that you wanted me to answer. If we go over by a minute or two, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Eden will start yelling.
Thanks. So the last one we had written out is, so there's a lot of upfront money and bonuses along the way, but how do you balance caring about the upfront money with really making sure your action is for the long game residual income?
Great question. Really great question. My big thought process when I first hear that is you're always doing both, right? Like Isogenex is a very, very generous compensation plan. So one of the things I talk a lot about on our opportunity webinars is, 85% of small businesses go out of business within their first 5 years. Okay. 85%. Why is that? Well, in Arizona, because it's Arizona, but 85%, why? One of the number one reasons is they don't have enough cash flow coming in to support whatever debt they took on to start the business or whatever the consistent overhead is, right? Basic economics, right? More money going out than they have coming in. So those upfront bonuses and all that upfront cash is that kind of upfront bridge the gap money. But ultimately, if all you want is a sales job, essentially, in that capacity where you're just trading time for money, then that's fine. But if you want freedom, then it's all about leverage and residual income, right? Like Warren Buffett says, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until the day you die. So what's really important is understanding that what matters in network marketing is the process through which you bring people in is going to duplicate. Everything duplicates, positive or negative. No matter what you do, how you bring somebody in is going to duplicate. So if you're constantly changing the system in which you bring people in, you're never going to create that predictable action for people. And what makes network marketing so special, remember what I talked about, 2 viable options, franchising or network marketing, is when you do network marketing the proper way, you build it like a virtual franchise so that I know coming in exactly what to do every single time. And what I want you to consider is that you're teaching second graders, right? You got to envision that you're teaching second graders. Now that doesn't mean that people are stupid, or they can't understand what you're doing, but you just want to be spoon feeding people, right? What's the very next step? What's the very next step? What's the very next step? Because what you want people to have the experience of, whether, even if you're acquiring them as a customer, you want them to have the experience of, I can do that. I can do what she's doing. I can do what he's doing. I can follow that system. I can, follow that template. I can show somebody those videos. I can ask those questions. I can do that. And that's the environment you want to create. So as long as you're disciplined in your duplication, you're disciplined in your process, you'll be doing both. You'll be acquiring customers, earning those upfront bonuses, but also creating an environment where people feel like they can duplicate your efforts and duplicate whatever system you brought them into. So if you're not cycling, if you're not cycling the way you want to be cycling, it's because you're not focused on, it's because you're not focused on a very, very simple set of routine actions repeated over and over and over again in a predictable way. That's the number one reason people don't cycle. Number one reason.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's perfect. I just want to say thank you. In order that Eden does not yell at you right now and try to put you on a timeout, we are at 10:01. But just wanted to thank you for your time and just showing up and pouring everything in. I mean, that was fire right there. I mean, that
Yeah.
was real passion and honesty. And
if you guys want to throw in the chat, definitely share in the chat with Zach how this has impacted you, because I know it helps to get that feedback and hear back. So do that. And also, as Barbie put in the chat, Zach does his Monday through Friday Q&A calls. So feel free to tomorrow. It's in 12 hours. If you have questions that were not answered, feel free to hop on to that. And we so appreciate you as a friend. I know we are better people having learned from you in our life, and I know that you touched everyone on the call tonight. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. And again, thank you guys for having me, and thank you ladies for having me. And the one last thing I'll leave you with, and something to really consider, is that in any given moment, you can decide who you want to become and how you want to show up in this world. And when you learn to hold yourself to the standard of the future version of you, and you just focus on these just daily habits that are in alignment with the future version of you, that's when everything comes together. The people that come on my morning calls hear me say this all the time, and that's this, is that big things happen when small things get all the love. So really get clear on the future version of you. And when you get faced with a decision, just take a step back and just ask yourself the question, what would the future me do right now? How would they show up? What would they choose? Who would they be? What would their attitude be? What would their philosophy be? And that's the most exciting thing about this whole thing for me, is watching people like every single one of you get to meet the future version of who you decide to become. So thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you all soon.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful
Bye,
night.
everybody. Bye.